Hi, everyone, and welcome to Influential Leadership Tips. I'm John Hadley.
And I'm Dave Miller. John, today I wanted to talk about what I call the priority disconnect. Now, John, you've worked in companies, you've consulted with companies. Have you ever witnessed gross inefficiency in the company when it comes to pursuing or making progress on a project or initiative?
Oh, never. That never happens, right?
Never at all, right? It seems like the projects I see, the companies I see, the cultures I see, that something always gets in the way. There's always like an IT audit or other projects, interrupt. There's always the daily fire that needs to be put out.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very frustrating, like if there's a project or initiative that you're in charge of or that you're passionate about, just seeing how slow it is and how you always miss deadlines and things like that. And I think it comes down to one of the big keys to this is what I call the priority disconnect. And I just went out on the internet just because I got curious about this concept to see what else is written on it. And I found this article called Addressing Priority Confusion to Speed New Product Development. It's by Jeff Elliott, a technical writer. And I just want to read a few excerpts from it. He says, even the most successful corporations in the world frequently miss new product development launch windows. And you could substitute product development for any project.
Oh, yeah.
The primary reason is confused, shifting, and unclear priorities, resulting in inefficient multitasking between these priorities. The losses can be measure millions of dollars per day that a project is extended, but the end result can even be more dire, losing out to the competition. On any given day, the average worker has dozens of priority tasks on his or her plate. Then reality hits. Priorities shift, unexpected work shows up, there are frequent interruptions, and tasks don't arrive when expected. The issue may become exacerbated for employees asked to work on multiple projects at a time because priorities between multiple projects are rarely coordinated or communicated clearly. Project personnel can't determine what work to work on first, so they end up switching madly between projects in a poor version of start and stop multitasking. And then this other piece is interesting too. Priorities among development projects are often unstated, uncommunicated, and constantly churning, says the book Developing Products in Half the Time by Smith and Reinertsen. What happens when management does not send clear, steady signals about its priorities is that individuals then establish their own based on various individual objectives.
Mm-hmm.
I think that captures it really well, the issue. And John, any thoughts on that before? I'll tell you what I think about that, but what are your thoughts just from hearing that? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, there's a lot of communication confusion. And there's also a lot of the short term versus the long term. If I know this thing needs to be done by Friday, I have this great focus on getting it done by Friday. If I've got this bigger project that is 3 months to the deadline, and I've got a similar thing that could be done by Friday, it doesn't feel like it has the urgency if we're not communicating really clearly about the priorities at all times.
Right, and that brings up like kind of a little lesson I learned about lateness. It's like, say you got to meet someone for lunch at 12 o'clock and it takes 20 minutes to get there, and you haven't left, it's 11:45 and you haven't gotten in your car yet, you're already late. Mm-hmm. It's not when you get there late that you're late. You're late when you haven't left at that time. And so when you have a 3-month project and something needs to be done 3 months in advance and it's not done, you're already late. Now maybe you can make up the time, but that's what people count on. I think you hit upon a really good point that people deal with the fires that are right in front of them. They have a harder time being proactive. And longer term projects are about being proactive. But I think that kind of the tip I want to say for leaders on this is to make sure the priorities are communicated explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
That you really have to look at what's going on. You have to look at the changing landscape, and you have to constantly help people understand where this project is on the priority list. Now, if something comes up that's greater, that's fine, but let's make it explicit. We say, hey, this audit came in. It's a fire we have to put out. Here's our workaround plan. Everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you get in the habit of leaving it unsaid, unspoken, what I've seen happen is people get used to that, saying, well, this is more urgent, so I'm going to do this first.
Right.
It's okay that we keep pushing this other thing back. And it's a place you don't want to get to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my tip for leaders. When you look at the initiatives around you, you see the inefficiency, look at what's going on with communication. Are people clear about the priorities? If not, what can you do to help get the people, the decision makers in a room or whatever, to be clear and communicate about these priorities and how we're going to navigate this thing? Let's call it what it is.
And make sure it stays clear on an ongoing basis. So it's
Absolutely.
not good enough just to say, hey, here's what it is today, and then I forget about it for a month.
Absolutely. You got to be on this. This is like a weekly, if not daily task.
Mm-hmm.
So work on that over the next week. We'll see you next week.
And until then, be influential.